You're listening to the Grind Line Podcast.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grind Line Podcast. I'm your host, Greg. You're listening to episode 327. Special episode tonight with our friends from Locked On Red Wings. We have Brian Fisher. How's it going, Brian?
I'm doing good, Greg. I really appreciate you having me on. It looks like both of us were riding solo a bit today, so we got together and are combining for an episode. I'm excited to talk about some free agents.
All of our friends have abandoned us. That's the theme of this episode. But that is exactly what we're going to talk about tonight. So the guys over at Evolving Hockey, if you don't follow them online, you should go follow them. They're a great follow. Plus, you should sub to their website. Their stuff is absolutely amazing. And I had pestered them last week or the week before, asking them, hey, when are you going to update your contract projection tool? Because it's eerily accurate most years, like super scary how close they are on some of these contracts. And they went ahead and did it. So we pulled some names. We're going to go over forwards. We're going to go over defensemen that are kind of at the top of the Red Wings, should be near the top of the Red Wings UFA list. And I think we're going to kick it off. We'll go right into it because we're going to do first half, we're going to do forwards. Second half, we're going to do defensemen. Brian will bake a second break in there somewhere.
Yeah, it'll happen one way or the other. There'll be a real jarring, and this episode is brought to you by, for Locked On listeners, just a sudden transition. We'll make it work.
Mid-sentence. It'll be fantastic. But we're going to kick it off. I think we should just kick it off with the biggest name that's out there that Red Wings fans, and I feel like this is the one where they can't, the one where most of the group cannot come to a consensus on. There's a very divided split. I think you could go 80-20 with the rest of the players, or 80% would be like, yeah, let's get that guy, and the 20% would argue just to argue. But I feel like this guy's a 50-50 split, and we'll start with Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner, right now, based on contract projections, is projected to sign a 7-year deal worth $12.69 million. What were your first thoughts when you saw that number? Because I had some.
Well, so before I saw that number, I was thinking he'd go for 13-14 million. So when I saw 12.7, I was like, okay, sign me the F up. What are we doing here? That's such a slam dunk. And you said something that is very true, and it drives me insane, Greg. The fact that this fan base is split on a guy who scored 100 points in the regular season this last year, and a lot of people go, well, he plays with Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews was out for 2 weeks to 3 weeks this last season, and Mitch Marner lit it up without him. This is a generational playmaker, and fans don't want him because he disappears in Game 7. I'm going to, real quick, I should have had this up already. I'm going to pull up this. It was great by Big Head Hockey earlier today. They listed a bunch of Hall of Fame players who disappeared in Game 7. That list includes Nicholas Backstrom, Paul Coffey, Daniel Sedin, Mike Modano. Nathan McKinnon has just 2 points in 5 Game 7s that he has played in. Connor McDavid has just 2 points in 4 Game 7s. Draisaitl has just 2 points in 4 Game 7s. This list goes on and on and on. Gabriel Landeskog, Daniel Alfredsson, all these guys, not necessarily Hall of Fame tier, but Mike Green, who had a very good prime in 9 games. Again, 9 Game 7s, he had 1 point. So there is all this huge, oh my God, Steven Stamkos has no points in 8 Game 7s, and he's a multi-time Stanley Cup winner. This narrative that he disappears in the playoffs means literally nothing to me, nor should it mean nothing to you. One, because it's not really all that true. He was a point per game this last playoffs. And yes, he disappeared in games 5, 6, and 7. I'm sorry, Greg. I'm going off on a rant right off the bat, but it drives me insane with Marner.
Because they deserve it.
It drives me insane because, one, it's a team sport, and every single player on that Leafs team, besides, I think Nylander was the one player on that team in those late games who actually had any production. Nylander and Nyes off the top of my head. It's a team sport. Everyone on that team disappeared down the stretch. Every single one. Yes, Marner shares part of that blame, but him becoming the scapegoat, you know what? I won't complain. I am grateful for it because they're chasing him out of Toronto, and now we have an opportunity to sign him. And if you're a Detroit Red Wings fan, do not pass up on this guy, because even though you have more glaring holes, when a guy of this caliber, who we have not seen since, John Tavares a decade ago, hit the free agent market, you don't pass on it. You kick the tires. You make a competitive offer, because a guy like this is the difference between making the playoffs or not.
Well, I think the one thing you bring up, too, that a lot of people are missing is, yeah, he didn't go pot 10 goals in the playoffs, but Mitch Marner is a playmaker. Mitch Marner, since 2016-17, when he broke into the league, has two 30-goal seasons, a 30-goal season and a 35-goal season. He makes up for an assist this past season, 27 goals, 75 assists. And if you're passing it to Austin Matthews and he's not putting it in, and you're passing it to William Nylander and he's not putting it in, you're not going to get those points. And he was still a point per game player in the playoffs, was he not?
Right.
Like, he was still a point per game player. So he was doing his job, and he got visibly angry, but he's not the guy that's going to go take over a game and score you 6 goals. He's going to set up your goal score. So imagine him feeding Lucas Raymond, a 40-goal Lucas Raymond season, or him feeding Alex DeBrincat for a 45-goal Alex DeBrincat season, just because he is such a good setup guy. So when you, and I've said it till I'm blue in the face online and on social and in person from the street corner, whenever a guy comes available who is a superstar talent on the free agent market, you do everything in your power to sign that guy. I don't want to hear that he's soft. I don't want to hear that he won't go into the corner and pick out pucks. I don't want to hear that he cries on the bench. I want to get to the playoffs. So you sign a guy like Mitch Marner. That's what you do.
Well, and then on top of that, there's one of the concerns with Mitch Marner is, okay, he's a right wing. If you bring back Patrick Kane, which all signs show that you are, you'll be flush with right wings. What do you do? Well, we saw just today, as of recording this, Lucas Raymond bump over to the left wing so that he could play on a line with Nylander. And oh, look at that. He scored 2 goals for Sweden to push their punch their card to the gold medal game, or the semifinals in the World Championships. So he scored 2 goals from left wing. So right there, okay, part of your concern. It's a 1-game sample size, but he is willing to do so. He's willing to do it to play with a better player. 2, Larkin and Marner have great chemistry together. Larkin has mentioned before how much he enjoys playing with Marner and how it was one of his favorite things to do back in one of those other All-Star game, or was it the under 26 tournament they did when he was on Team North America or whatever it was.
Yeah, had to have
all
been
those
the
years
World
ago.
Cup of Hockey or when they did it.
Yeah, what that was it called? World Cup of Hockey. He's also their top penalty killer. And then if you look on, which is the Wings desperately need, so he's good defensively. He's a 2-way winger that scores 100 points. And then on top of that, if you look on Dobber Hockey, he gets the toughest deployments out of any Toronto Maple Leaf. And if you look on Puck IQ, he gets the toughest deployments, even more difficult than Austin Matthews by just a hair because they share a line, than any forward in the NHL. He does all that with the most difficult deployments. So yes, he plays with really talented players, but there's this element of people think he's just riding the coattails, and it's not that. He is helping add to. It's a shared responsibility. Austin Matthews isn't a 50-goal scorer. I mean, he might be, but it's made a lot easier when you have an elite playmaker like Mitch Marner on your line. And imagine what Raymond and Larkin would look like with him too. It's just this narrative, this playoff narrative that is, again, people, done to you by the Toronto fans. We talk every single day about how they're so toxic and how they love to scapegoat. Meanwhile, you are circulating the same narrative that those fans that you call toxic are doing. It's like, I'm sorry, they're chasing a 100-point player out of the organization. You should be thrilled about that, not saying no thank you.
I feel like Mitch Marner is Toronto's Mo Seider. People don't appreciate Mo Seider because
that's a different
he's not putting up all these points and all this. But if you look at the underlying stats, he is the hardest worked defenseman in the entire league, and he's doing it at an elite level. And there's the big thing where they say defensemen, if you don't hear their name called during a game, they're performing the way they should. And that's actually backed up by Nick Cronwall in a recent, I think it was, they were talking to Anton Johansson or someone. He said the same thing. That's what Cronwall says, is that if your name is not called while you're playing, then you're doing your job as a defenseman. And that's what Mo does. And it's the same kind of stuff. You look at the underlying stats, and even if you look, and I don't have to show the card, but I'll show it on the screen, overall 96 percentile for Mitch Marner as a player on evolving hockey cards, a 96 offense and a 38 defense. And that defense number is better than a lot of your actual defensemen. So I think that there's no doubt that you improve as a team with Mitch Marner. There's no doubt that Mitch Marner helps carry you to the playoffs. Somewhere you complain about not being in, once you get there, you can worry about who's putting in the effort and who's not.
Right. 102 points this last year. The year before that, 85 and 69 games. Keep the games played in the back of your mind when you look at point totals. 99 points the year before that in 80 games, and 97 points the year before that in 72. So in each of the last 4 seasons, if he plays a full year, he is a 100-point player. His point per game in each of the last 4 seasons is over a point per game. Like it's just for me, it's a no-brainer. And the fact that so many Red Wings fans are saying no, thank you to a guy of this level is mind-boggling. And I'll put the period there.
The period has been put. Now, if you miss out on a guy like Mitch Marner, the next guy that I think is most likely that you go after is a Nikolai Ehlers. Nikolai Ehlers is 29 years old and a predicted term of 7 years, 8.888 million AAV. You're saving money. I think my biggest concern with Ehlers is his injury history. He is 6 foot tall, 172-pound left wing. Last season in 69 games played, had 24 goals, 39 assists for 63 points. So he does put up the points, but like I said, he does have some injury issues throughout his career. Overall, he's 85 percentile on the evolving hockey card, 79 offense, 41 defense. What you add a lot in Nikolai Ehlers is he's a tough player to play against. He's not afraid to hit. He's not afraid to throw the body, but he also has really good offensive instincts. But again, he is not this some 30. Nikolai Ehlers has never had a 30-goal season. Never had a 30-goal season. He is an assist guy. He puts up 36 last season, 39 this season. But he's a guy that would absolutely help you fill out a top 6 left wing role.
Yeah, he's gotten really close to 30 several times in his career. In 2022, he played 62 games, scored 28 goals. And that's the big thing. You're right. The biggest red flag with Ehlers is that injury history. He's never really stayed healthy. He's only played 3 full 82 game seasons in 10 years in the NHL, 9 years in the NHL. Only 3 of which he's played a full 82, and that is a red flag. But he does immediately solve your top 6 problem. He slots right in on your top left wing because he is a natural left wing, so you don't got to worry about shuffling players around. I think that he does make a lot of sense in that, as well as the fact that he gets used mostly in the offensive zone, but so is Larkin and Raymond are going to be used that way too. So it makes a lot of sense from that standpoint. The only thing that worries me with him is the cap hit with his injury. Yes, he'll projected to make less money than a Mitch Marner, but it's the bang for buck that I'm worried about. I mean, if this guy can't stay healthy, that's a lot of money and term to presumably commit to a guy who can't stay in the lineup. But I can't talk out about both sides of my mouth, right? I'm a big proponent that this season Yzerman's got to take a swing. And if Ehlers is that swing up, again, assuming he makes it to free agency, I think the Winnipeg front office said that re-signing Ehlers is a top priority before free agency hits. But if you were to hit free agency and Yzerman were to sign him, I'd be cool with it. I'd say, hey, he took a swing on a guy who can be a difference maker. So yeah, I think as far as Ehlers goes, that's where I stand. And that's where I stand with a lot of the big names, is that there might be more red flags with some of these players, but if Yzerman went out and signed him, at least I can say, hey, he took a shot at a guy who can be a difference maker.
Yeah, it's what people are clamoring for Yzerman to do. It's like, hey, go out and make a splash. This is the time to do it. You've got a team, you've got a coach who has all summer to implement his system and get to know the guys and their strengths and weaknesses. And you put your faith in that coach to be able, and you put the best team in front of that coach for him to get the best out of his players. Now, Ehlers' time on ice has gone down a little bit. He's at 1548 ATOI last season. But again, he's a guy that's going to, and maybe that leads to part of his injury history, is he's not afraid to take a hit. He's not afraid to lay a hit. And if you're trying to, like many people are calling for, get bigger, get tougher, this is one of the kind of guys that you sign in order to do that, to kind of get a little bit more snarl into your lineup. He is also under 30. That is a running theme you will see, is a lot of the guys we put on this list, they're under 30 years old, because Yzerman had stated, we want around Dylan Larkin's age or younger to be part of that group going forward, because they're going to sign guys that can be here more than 1, 2, 3 years.
Yeah, and he'll be a nice punch on your second power play unit too, because as great as the power play was last year, the second unit kind of struggled. It was really when a lot of the goals were getting scored on the power play. It was that PP unit 1 with Seider, Raymond, Larkin, Cat, and Kane. You get Ehlers, and that's a huge bump up for your second power play unit. He averaged 232 per game on the power play this last season with the Winnipeg Jets. I had to go to averages because total time on the ice is going to be very skewed because he missed so many games. But I mean, that puts him in the top 2 power play units for Winnipeg. I think that that'd be a nice add too. I mean, not that the power play needs to get that much better, but it's always nice to add more firepower where you can.
Yeah, his 5-on-5 numbers, that's another, well, where you need to improve his 5-on-5. And 18 of his 24 goals were even strength, and 23 of his 39 assists were even strength as well. So you're upping your 5-on-5 play there too, which is a weakness of the team. So the last forward, we might mention another one, but this one we're going to talk about, and I think we're going in order of snarl. Sam Bennett from the Florida Panthers. He is 28 years old in 76 games played this past season, 25 goals, 26 assists for 51 points. Sam Bennett is going to beat you up and take your lunch money. That is the best way to describe Sam Bennett. He fills a center hole, which I think the Red Wings currently have. I think 2C is more than fillable with Marco Kasper, the way he's played toward the end of the season under Todd and internationally, being one of the best players for RIP Team Austria. But I think that Sam Bennett's a guy you could bring in, even if you wanted to play him 3C, even if you wanted to move Kasper to the wing. I think Bennett is a guy that, again, brings, if not for points, which I think this might have been his best season point production wise in his career, it was by 10 points, that he brings fists, he brings anger, he brings toughness. He's not a guy that's going to let your teammates get pushed around. And I'm a big proponent of Sam Bennett. I actually think you could get Sam Bennett and another one of these guys plus a defenseman if you wanted to. He is projected to sign for 7 years at $7.553 million.
Yeah, and maybe this is in my mind. I need to adjust what is a contract for a middle 6 guy, because that is a tough pill to swallow. But with the cap rising, that might be the new 5.5. It might take me a little bit while to get used to that. But that's the thing that I'm wondering about too, is I'm all for Sam Bennett. I want to preface with this. He led the Florida Panthers. He leads the Florida Panthers this playoffs with 67 hits. He definitely brings that big physical style that this team needs. He's a proven playoff performer now. And he would fill out a middle 6 role on this team, top 6 role, honestly, in all actuality. I'm not sure. I don't know if he takes the role from Kasper. I think Kasper really cemented down that second line center. He had such great chemistry. But I mean, he's another guy like Kasper who's hard-nosed, not afraid to get to the puck and feed the guys around him. And he's having a career year of 50 points. And that's kind of where I get a little nervous, because us as Red Wings fans, I mean, what have we talked about with Cop and Comp for the last 2 years? Is Cop and Comfort, we sign them on career highs, they come here and they don't perform the way they did with their former teams. And now we're clamoring to get another guy who has a career high of 50 points. Like it, and by the way, he will be 29 when free agency turns. His birthday's in late June. So it's like, are we really going to go down this path again? But where I do feel a little bit differently is where everything that you already stated, Greg, is that he brings a different profile than those other 2 guys. Where JT Compher and Andrew Kopp don't play that heavy game, Bennett does bring that angle to this team, and it does desperately need it. Well, is it worth the 7.9 or whatever you just said that he's projected to get over 7 years? Time will tell. Again, it might just be I have to adjust to the new standard with the cap going up, but that feels like a tough pill to swallow for a guy who signed just, scored just 50 points as a career high this last regular season. But again, I don't know. I'm on the fence. It's just, I've been hurt before by these types of players, but it's just what he has that this team doesn't have that makes me go, okay, if they signed him, I'd be okay with that, because they desperately need that mentality in this lineup, because they are too easy to play against.
Yeah, you bring up the hits. He would have been 3rd on the Red Wings in hits behind Mo Seider and Marco Kasper with his 145 this season. Kasper had 156 hits. 156 hits in 77 games played. Marco Kasper is a certified menace. He is a menace.
I love that kid. He is not afraid of anyone. That kid is gonna. I don't think
he almost beat up Siegenthaler today.
Dude, I don't think it's a stretch at all to say that this kid has probably another 30 points in him. Like, he was on pace for 60 points by the end of that season.
I had set next season's over-under at 50.5 points for him, and I took the over.
Yeah, I would probably take the over, too. If he play, especially with who he's playing with, He's going to just get that puck. He's going to bully the people around him. He's going to feed DeBrincat and Kane, assuming Kane comes back. I'm so thrilled for the second year of Marco Casper. That's a guy that I wasn't sure had offense in him. I think all of us shared that sentiment. And then he comes here, plays with better talent, and wouldn't you know it, he's scoring more goals.
So about Sam Bennett, I think what worries me mostly about him. So he's an overall 53 on evolving hockey stat cards, 75 offense, a 16 defense. But I think term, the years worry me more than the cap hit. I think with the style of game that he plays and how tough he is out there and how he throws the body and plays a rough game and turning 29, that a 7-year term for him is a little off for me, I think. And they do other predictions on like what else he could sign. 44% predicted a 7-year term, at 23% for a 5-year term, and at 5 years that would set him at 7.407 million. So around the same cap hit, but less time. And I might feel better with that just based on his play style.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though, right? With most of these players we talk about, most of the guys who are, in their prime are going to be 28, 29. And they're at that point, if they're hitting free agency, they're going to be looking for a 6-7 year deal. So if you want the best guys, you're going to have to give them the longest length. And you're going to have to hope that they either hold up, or by the time that you get to the later years, that cap number is not really all that bad. I don't know if his play style can keep up because of, that play style he has. But if you want Sam Bennett, you're going to have to overpay. That's free agency. So I don't necessarily like 7 years for a guy turning 29 and having him through age 36. But, there's other avenues too. It doesn't necessarily mean he's on your team until he's 36. Like, you're hoping by the time that he's 36, this team is coming out of a cup window rather than still trying to go into it. You're hoping that your cup window's open. You've won a couple of cups, and now your core is getting a little older. Hopefully by then you can move on from the contract, make things work. Like, that's one of those things where I think a lot of us think, okay, that's a commitment. But in modern day NHL, 7 years isn't necessarily a commitment for all 7 years. It's a commitment you're going to get.
Not always 7 years.
It's a commitment you're going to get paid for 7 years, but doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be from us. So
yeah, hello, Jeff Petrie.
Right.
The last guy, I think I'm going to mention him really quick. Ryan Donato is one that I think a lot of people are overlooking a little bit. Ryan Donato is 29 years old, a predicted term of 3 years with a cap hit of 4.709. I think this is your bargain bin kind of player that if you needed to fill a center role, Ryan Donato is going to fill I wouldn't say top 6 role, but I think Ryan Donato sits nicely on your third line as a center. Had 62 points in 80 games, 31 goals, 31 assists, which is a weird, rare, even split, I guess. But a lot of his stuff is at even strength. 26 of his 31 goals are at even strength. 22 of his 31 assists are at even strength. So if you're looking to boost, depth was a really big problem for the Red Wings last season. If the first 2 lines weren't scoring, nothing else was happening. So I think if you put Ryan Donato on your third line as a center, and maybe you shifted Kopp down, or even put Ryan Donato as a wing on your third line, I think that's where you're going to pick up some offense from him and just be able to boost it when the top couple lines have off games, and kind of boost your 5-on-5 production there too. So I think Donato's like a sneaky guy there that not a lot of people are talking about, but I think he's worth looking at because it looks like it could be a cheap contract.
Yeah, Ryan Donato is really interesting because he played on a bad Chicago Blackhawks team this year.
Absolute garbage.
Like a Blackhawks team that in all reality, with who they had on that roster, probably should have had a better season than they did. I know it was a very young roster, but they fired their coach halfway through a rebuilding season because they weren't taking a step forward that they needed. So it's definitely like one of those situations where the fact that he had a 30-goal season, 30 assists, a 30-30, 62 points in 80 games with that bad of a Blackhawks team, and you look at his numbers and everything saying that he was, Dobber hockey, right? It has a red dot if you were negative relative Corsi and a blue dot if you were positive. He's a solid blue. And compared to guys like Connor Bedard, he got more defensive zone deployments. He got tougher deployments. He was used to almost kind of shelter a young Bedard and let Bedard grow. And Donato still had a 30-30 season.
He scored more than Bedard. Bedard had 23 goals.
I can't figure him out. I don't know how he did that. And I'm like, is this a flat? His career high before this was 31 points. He doubled his career high on a dog water Blackhawks team. So like you called it bargain bin. I don't know if I think that I don't know what I think, Greg. Like, he's definitely worth a team like signing. And I completely
Absolutely.
understand why guys like the contract prediction is 3 years, because it's definitely like you're gonna have to prove that you like this was not a fluke, because out of nowhere you're just this superstar all of a sudden, and that's a stretch. But you're this really good top six center all of a sudden. I just don't know if the Red Wings are a team like you sign him. Where's he playing? That's what I'm trying to get at. And I think that third line is probably where he plays with Detroit right now, because who in the top six is he replacing? Unless, of course, maybe you don't get you whiff on all your top six candidates. You get Donato and hope that he works out on your top line wing. But like you don't have space down the middle. You still have Kopp and Comfort, and even Rasmussen you got to think about for center. Danielson's not far off, presumably. Like that's the thing. Is just with me, it's like fit with Donato. I really like Donato. I think he'd be perfect for a team that is either that you think of like a Boston Bruins almost, right? That's just decimated down the middle, like also kind of trying to retool. Ryan Donato would be a perfect player for because they're not committing to a rebuild. They wouldn't have re-signed.
No, they're
if they
retooling.
They're retooling, which is code for it's going to be a slow and painful death.
The Ken Holland classic. Like,
yeah. Or he'd be perfect for a team that is like actively building upwards and trying to get better now. I just don't know if he's a good fit for Detroit right now because of all the question marks about if this is the real him. Kind of goes back to my last argument about Sam Bennett. Is like, do we really want to sign a guy coming off a career high when he wasn't really this good in all the prior years? The only thing that gives me hope that this is the real him is just because he was with such a bad team. I kind of rambled there, but that's kind of like my stream of consciousness on Ryan Donato.
I think if you could trade JT Compher, that Ryan Donato would be a good replacement for someone like JT Compher, because Ryan Donato is also a tougher style player too. He's not afraid to mix it up and go to the corners. I think that would be a good swap. If you could get rid of Tarasenko's money, I'd bring in someone like Ryan Donato. I think Ryan Donato would be really good on a team like the Islanders. That would be a good fit for Ryan Donato. I think Ryan Donato would be really good on a team like the Montreal Canadiens. You'll see parallels between probably what we are going to be chasing and what the Canadians are going to be chasing in free agency, because we're on kind of the same path. So that was one I thought I'd just bring up, because I thought I looked at it and I'm like, well, he had a really good season, and his contract, because it was, like you said, one good season or one excel like way above all his other seasons, that his contract projection is still rather low. So
yeah, my thing is like it feels like a half measure. And I feel like we've done enough half measures. And at this point, we need a guy with a proven track record who can succeed. And somebody might roll the dice on Donato and hit strike gold. But I would be too afraid that we're repeating the same mistakes we made with Kopp and Comfer, of guys coming off career years and signing to a long-term deal and then having them come back to being 30-point guys. That's my concern. And again, scars from the past.
Well, we're going to go to break, take a quick break, word from our sponsor. When we come back, we will talk about a guy with a proven track record in a couple defensemen. So we'll touch defensemen right after a couple messages from our sponsors. During our quick break, I just want to tell everyone about something that's totally changed my mornings. Strong Coffee Company. If you're like me, you love your coffee, but you also want it to actually do something for you. This is the upgrade you've been looking for. Strong Coffee isn't your average cup of joe. It's an all-in-one instant blend made for people who care about their health and performance. You're getting 15 grams of grass-fed protein, 5 grams of MCTs for long-lasting energy, and adaptogens like ashwagandha and L-theanine to help you stay calm, focused, and productive without the jitters or crash. The black blend is bold and smooth, made from organic fair trade Arabica beans, and their lattes, they've got collagen, hyaluronic acid, healthy fats, the works. It tastes amazing and helps you feel sharper, sleep better, and just show up as your best self every day. And on top of all that, they're eco-friendly too, so you can feel good about what you're putting in your body and how it's made. Check them out at strongcoffeecompany.com and use our code GRINDLINE. That's strongcoffeecompany.com, promo code GRINDLINE at checkout for 20% off. That's GRINDLINE for 20% off your order. Give it a shot. I think you're going to love it. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30 points, 40, or more? It's your call. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
And we're back, and we're going to run through a couple defensemen. So the Red Wings, as we all know, need a left defenseman, second pair, either to let Ed play up top or to give Moritz Seider something that's not a boat anchor in Ben Sherratt. So I've got two names that fill that. And number one is going to be the one that everyone is looking at. So from the LA Kings, Vladislav Gavrikov, who is predicted to get a 4-year contract at $5.636 million. And this is the one before we hit record. Brian's like, this is an absolutely ridiculous, I feel like, projection for Gavrikov, where everyone else had him in like the $7.5 to $8 million range.
Yeah. I feel a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's a defensive defenseman, and it can be hard to really project a player's value who doesn't put up big points. And I believe the creators of Evolving Hockey have even discussed that at some point. It's hard to evaluate defensemen, especially the ones who aren't Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. And I think this is kind of a classic case of that because he's making $5.6 million right now. And so the projection of him, the most likely projection being him at 4.5 points, 4 by 4, 5. Let me restart. 4 years at $5.6 million per. There, I got it out eventually.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. I talk too fast. It's problem mine. Is that it doesn't seem realistic, and I would take that in a heartbeat. Don't get me wrong. If that is the market for him, that's a steal. He's 29 years old. That put his contract expiring at 33, so there's no worry about term. 5.6 is like $1 million more you're paying than Ben Sherratt, and he'd be way more effective at this point. I mean, this is a guy who was the top penalty killer on the LA Kings, who had the 8th best penalty kill in the league. So he had 30 points this last year, which, despite him getting the most defensive deployments on the LA Kings, is really damn good. A lot of people forget that 30 points from a defenseman is actually pretty good production.
It's like
especially guys
expected,
who are,
right?
Right. Like we talked about it before we recorded, but like guys like Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes have really tainted the well on what people's expectations for what a top pairing defenseman is supposed to be. Not all of them score goals. That's not how their play styles are. He's a top 4, and probably on this team, honestly, it'd be between him and Edvinsson on the top pair. And I think he'd complement Seider so well because their styles would be so similar. And I think Gavrikov would even actually help to insulate Seider so Seider could take more risks. Because last 2 seasons, Seider's been the guy who's had to be the safety net. We both know that Seider, I mean, he's the power play 1 quarterback for a reason. He has offense in him, and he still managed to score 46 points, which is the second highest of his career since his rookie season. But if you give him a partner who he can actually rely upon to be a good safety net for him when he skates it up, you might see Seider blossom more. I mean, there's literally no downside to signing a Gavrikov, in my opinion. I would even take him at the projected 7 years at $6 million, because even if you sign a guy for 7 years, doesn't mean he has to be here for 7 years. That cap hit in 7 years is going to be the new bottom pair money. Like, it's assuming everything keeps going up, right?
Yeah.
It could stagnate again if we have another global pandemic, but there's no red flags with this player besides maybe the concern that he's a product of LA's really good system. But all of his relative numbers suggest that he was contributing to that system, not riding the coattails of. So it's just like, I would take him at $4 by $7 million. That's how badly we need another top 4 defenseman. We sign him, we still need another top 4 defenseman, because outside of Edvinsson and Seider, who's on the right side?
Yeah, as you wait for ASP to develop. And I think down the road, he would be a great partner for someone like an ASP, who is a offense first defenseman. Not saying he's a super slouch defensively, but if you want to kind of balance those pairings out, and if you could put Ed eventually, if you could put Ed with Mo, and each of them have some offense, but each of them are also good defensively, so they're a good pairing. Gavrikov is an 83 overall on Evolving Hockey's charts with 49 offense, so he's not a slouch offensively. He's generating chances,
Yeah.
but he is a 96 on defense, and I think that is one of the highest defensive numbers I have ever seen on an Evolving Hockey chart, which means he just shuts it down. The dude does not let anything get by him. He's not a terrible zone exit guy either. He has a good pass, and he's not going to let your team get pushed around, because he's also a tough player, and that's a running theme. Like, guys who are tough players is who we're trying to bring in. But he's a dude who completely solidifies your defensive core going forward, because my guess would be that the second pair would be him and Albert Johansson. And Albert Johansson at the same time also proved that he probably has a little bit of offense in him as well, which was kind of an unknown, but he ended up picking it up a little bit towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
So this is a guy that you can instantly insert into your top four and fix one of your main issues, which is stopping the puck from going in your net.
Right. And it's kind of crazy too, because like you signed Ben Sherratt to be that that protector, right? The guy who's the bully. And yeah, I mean, he's not afraid to mix it up after the whistle, but a lot of times it feels like he's just a step behind actually making an impact with that physicality. I mean, the numbers between him and Seider, when they played together, Seider's numbers would be fantastic. And you look across the aisle and Sherratt's underlying numbers would be terrible. And it's like, okay, we got to do something here. Sherratt, I think, would be fantastic on the third pair, right? Playing 15 minutes a night. He's actually a third pair defenseman you could put in the defensive zone occasionally, unlike Gustafsson and Hall, who you have to only put in the offensive zone.
It's where he should be.
It's where he should be, 100%. So it's just, and the health factor too. Like, he has been healthy his entire career. Like, the only seasons he's played less than 70 games were COVID shortened seasons. It was 2020 and 2021. Those were COVID shortened seasons. Every other year, he's played 80, 72, 77, and 82. And the best ability is availability. So he's a top four defenseman who you know you're going to get for 90% of the season. You know he's going to be your top penalty killer. And you know he's going to help keep the puck out of the back of the net. And his projected numbers, again, I just can't. He's got to be going for like 6.5 minimum, I feel like. But even if it's $6.5 million, sign him, Stevie.
Exactly.
Absolutely. It's a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
You got to overpay.
And the one we're going to talk about, just so that Brian's boss doesn't yell at me for taking too long with him, is Aaron Ekblad. So Aaron Ekblad is one we talked about him a little bit at the middle of the season. We said, wouldn't it be nice to get someone like Aaron Ekblad? And then we didn't. And my biggest concern with Aaron Ekblad is the same as most people, which is injury concern, where I think he's only ever played 2 full seasons in his whole career. He had a season with 35. He had a season with 51, 61, 71. So he has had some injury issues. He's also had some, what the league calls PED policy issues. Whatever, it was, could have just been a weird protein shake he had or something. But Aaron Ekblad is projected to get a 6-year deal at $7.685 million. This is a guy you want fight. Aaron Ekblad's got fight. Now, the problem you get with Aaron Ekblad is he is not super great defensively. He is an offensive defenseman at a 57 offense, 25 defense for a 28 overall. But he is a guy that is going to come in and just really beat people up, play really good, just a really good brand of aggressive defense hockey. And I'm not sure you put him up top with Mo. Mo still has to worry a little bit more about defense, but I still think it frees him up much better than someone like Ben Sherratt does. Plus, it adds a guy who's got recent Stanley Cups, knows what it's like in the playoffs in the 2020s, and can, I think, could absolutely help get you there.
Yeah, and again, assuming he makes free agency, right? And I think there is a shot that he does, because it depends on what the Panthers' goal is here. Are they trying to extend their cup window for as long as possible? Well, then you might be better off investing that $9 million, $10 million you're going to spend on Ekblad elsewhere. But at the same time, if you want to just keep running it back and keep it going, worry about winning a Stanley Cup now, and then next year, it does make sense. They got $19 million in upcoming cap space. Their notable free agents are Brad Marchand and Sam Bennett. I don't see them re-signing Marchand unless at his age, he might take a little bit. He took a pretty good deal to begin with. I don't know. He's such a good fit. I actually could see them re-signing him at his age to like a 2-year deal, and he's playing really well in the playoffs.
I could see them keeping Marchand instead of Bennett.
Yeah. I mean, but I digress. I digress a little bit here. Would I take Ekblad in a heartbeat? Yes. I think that there are legitimate concerns, right, with those injuries that you keep mentioning. You're going to get a really good 50 games out of him. But in those 50 games, he is going to make you a lot harder to play against. I think he is a dirty player. I'm going to be honest. But you know what else I think? I think this team needs a little bit of dirt. This team, unfortunately, to be tougher to play against, you need to have that toe in the line. And he toes the line so well. The other day, he elbowed a player in the back of the head as he scored a goal. Dirty play. Dirty play. I don't condone it. We need a little bit of that, though. Like, it's just, this team so lacks a physical edge. Like, who are your, and we're beating the same drum, right? That's the theme of this episode. We lack physical edge. And hey, if Marner signs here, I don't care. Like, he doesn't have
there's
physical
your
edge.
exception. Like,
right. It's one of those things where those pros heavily outweigh like the team needs. Like, it's worth it in that case. But like, he just brings such a physical edge. He makes you so much tougher to play against. Like, he might not have great defensive metrics, but you see Aaron Ekblad in front of you when you're coming down the ice, you think twice about the next move you're going to make. And you need that. You really, this team does. And like the PED thing, honestly, it might be another hot take. I don't really care about it. Like, it could have he could have been on performance enhancing drugs. But at the same time, like, he served his suspension. I would hope he knows not to do it again. And I don't think it changes my opinion that I mean, he might have done something against league policy, but it's not like he did anything criminal. So as long as you're not out there like breaking laws and earning felonies, like, I'm just going to sign you up. I don't know.
It's the same kind of reason I advocate for trading for a guy like Radko Gudas. It's because you need that guy who plays just right on the edge of, is what he does okay or not. Right. And that's the added toughness. There are guys on our team, I think could get, like, I think Marco Kasper has that in him. I think deep down inside, Marco Kasper has that dog in him that you can just release at any time. And the closest we've had in recent memory is someone like Tyler Bertuzzi. And even he was tame for today's standard. So I think Ekblad's a guy you absolutely bring in just to make, it's one of the guys where like you hate to play against him, but you sure as hell love to have him on your team. And it's the same thing with guys like Brad Marchand.
And Panthers are full of those guys. They've built their entire identity around it. And like, I hate watching the Panthers play and win playoff games because I think they're a dirty team. And I think that the NHL, the way that officiating works, especially in the playoffs, plays right into the hands of how they are a dirty team. But you know what? They're winning playoff series. They're en route as of right now to possibly going back to back because they play that way. So, don't hate the player, hate the game kind of situation. It's like, I think he's a dirty player, but we need a little bit of dirt. And I think the injury concerns are very real. I'd be concerned about giving him a 7-year deal because I'm not sure he'd finish out that contract. But for the next 3, hopefully 4 years of that deal, he would make your team a pain in the ass. And that's what you need right now.
Absolutely. Brian, I want to get your final thoughts. I also want to thank you for coming on and joining me tonight.
Oh, anytime, Greg. It's always a pleasure to be on with the Grind Line guys. Just you and I today, but still, it was great. My final thoughts are sign somebody of note. Like, I can't. I did a whole episode the other day about, is it make or break for the fan base this offseason with their faith in Steve Yzerman. And I'm kind of on the fence. I think that if we get another year of signing B and C tier guys, I don't know how I can't sit here and say maybe Yzerman's not the guy. So I still like, I want to make it clear, I really love Yzerman. I think he's done a great job up to this point, but we need a difference maker on this team through free agency or trade. And it needs to be, in my opinion, needs to be this offseason because I think there's a handful of guys that can be. Doesn't mean he'll get them because there's 31 other teams, right, that exist in the NHL. But I need a swing. I need a swing for the fences from Yzerman this year. And my swing for the fences is pretty mild, right? Like, you can sign Gavrikov and I'm pretty happy, but that's because I'm high on Gavrikov. So it's also based on personal preference. But I see these guys and I go, man, these guys would make this team better. I really hope we don't sign another third line winger to an NHL contract and say this makes our team better.
Where can people find you?
Oh, yeah. On Twitter at Brian Fisher, LORW. I'm on Blue Sky as well. Similar handle. Those Blue Sky handles are really long, so just search up Brian Fisher. I'm on the Locked On Red Wings podcast is at LO_Red Wings. I forgot it there for a second. Finishing rough here. And then, yeah, anywhere you listen to podcasts and including YouTube is Locked On Red Wings. So, yeah.
Yeah, go follow them and subscribe to the stuff, and it'll just automatically like download it to your phone. Pops up in my phone every day and pop it on when I'm mowing the lawn. So,
and to Locked On Red Wings listeners, because remember, this is on my channel too, where can people find you, Greg?
Yeah, you follow me online at Bringing the Wing, the Grindline Podcast, online at Grindline Pod. We are also on YouTube. You can go over there, sub to us, turn on the notifications. You'll get notified every time an episode goes live. We also like to thank the Hockey Podcast Network for hosting us and spreading us around. Vintage Detroit, which is the only place you should get your Detroit jerseys from and worked on, and where we have an exclusive t-shirt collection. So if you are looking at our lovely faces on YouTube, I am wearing my Mo with the Flow shirt. Yeah, this is one of them. But you can go there, click on the Keep It Local tab, click on the Grindline Podcast, and you'll find all our designs there. But that is going to do it for us tonight. Again, thank you, Brian, for coming on. And you stay classy, Hockeytown.